What is up, diehards? Wes Monell in the building for AWOL Sports with Dill Monell Drew Lacuesta. We got the fantasy flash today. We're going to go through 10 topics to help you out. Moving over to the AFC, backs on the same team. We got a vet and a rookie. Devin Singletary's been doing this thing, 1,000-yard campaign, total yards. And you're seeing the numbers here. You look at the bottom, that's all Devin Singletary right there because he's been the only one in the league. You see Cook's numbers, 10, 12, 11 TDs, similar numbers to Singletary done on the college level. I'm going to throw this out there before you guys elaborate on some things. I wanted to know a little bit more about how they compared feature-wise. Singletary, 5'7", 203, so he's built like kind of a Maurice Jones-Drew. If he added 10 pounds, it'd be more like Mojo. But yeah, and he, coming out of school, he had a 4.66 40-yard dash. He's known for his jump cuts, fades the first tackle. He likes to bounce to the left, apparently. I was doing some homework on that. James Cook, on the other hand, the youngin, 5'11", a little taller, 190, lighter than Singletary. So, he's probably going to throw on 6 to 8 pounds the first half of the season. You would hope, if he's doing his thing from now until then to gain some of that muscle mass. He runs a 4.42, so he's quicker. Drafted out of the end of the second round, but he was never the feature guy in Georgia. 4 seasons there. I'm not saying he didn't take charge, but that was the recipe for their success, apparently, is by moving the guys around, not giving it to just one feature back. It's just what they do there. But yeah, he's capable like Singletary. He's a 3-down back, but he's projected to be more of like a Cordero Patterson. I read a lot about he played out at wide receiver. He played a lot in the slot. They put him in motion a lot. He's a mismatch nightmare, but better than a gadget player is what I was reading about him. They said he's patient, more of an outside runner. So that's a lot of versatility that's screaming right there. Change up back, which leads me to believe that it's still Singletary's backfield and that no, Zach Moss really isn't in this picture, despite what a lot of people wanted to believe. I know the signs were kind of there. Singletary just does not seem to be going away. Dill, I know you winced at that because you like Zach Moss. We got another youngin coming in to see if someone can finally knock Singletary off of this RB1 throne in Buffalo. What do you think?
Yeah, looking like I'm taking the L on that one. I'm still part of the Zach Moss fan club, so I do hope for brighter pastures for himself, right? But from a fantasy perspective, it's probably not somebody you want to rely on starting, based on your history so far there. But I think James Cook is, definitely an exciting player, right? You kind of went through his profile there. So I think an explosive player like that on, this great of an offense that he's coming into, and he doesn't have to be the number one back right away. Obviously everyone competing at the position wants to start, but him contributing right away, I think it's going to be beneficial. And I think he kind of takes over Zach Moss's role right away and is going to be able to be utilized in the passing game. So again, I think that's where you can sneak in a little bit more snaps to, where Zach Moss was normally getting that. I just struggle to see him to get red zone usage between, Singletary being, just slightly a little bit heavier there and maybe can kind of hold up in the red zone. And obviously Josh Allen is just a threat to score from pretty much anywhere on the field. But especially in the red zone, he can find a way to, go get it done himself and go run it in. So I think at this point, based on, my research, they're kind of getting drafted in a similar spot, which is crazy to me. Which again, I understand James Cook is exciting. He could be utilized at the receiver position, catching balls there. But I think if, again, from a fantasy perspective, if I'm trying to start a running back two, I'm probably going to be starting Devin Singletary in my lineup over James Cook. I think James Cook is more of like a stash at this point. If you have like a deeper bench in your league, like if you have 6 bench spots or more, which I think every league should, but I know that's not how it works. You should be able to, kind of stack up a couple guys like a James Cook, because again, that could be a potential, breakout, rookie player towards the end of the season that we commonly see that can help on those championship runs, right? You know how, again, Rashad Penny wasn't a rookie last season, but some guys can get hot towards the end of the year as you get a little bit more, play and learn the playbook there. and solidify the role. So again, James Cook, good stash candidate, but if I'm going to relying on somebody to start weekly, I think it's still going to be Devin Singletary.
Any counter to that, Jew, or are you on the same page?
Exactly the same. Yeah, I think maybe in the future, we've seen a lot of success now with teams splitting backs or at least something in the 60-40, 70-30 range. Once you get in that 60-40, 70-30, it's really just for rest, right? I mean, you can't just keep running your back over and over and over. You got to give them at least one series every quarter given to the RB2, but I think that is a trustworthy RB2. And nowadays, you can find a lot of talent. It's getting less and less just because of I believe a lot of those contracts are going to receivers and corners and quarterbacks. So you see kind of like a dry spell of running backs getting taken in the first round. So a second round is as high as it gets now for running backs. So I think they do see a future with Cook. It's just I don't see it as immediate. I think it'll just be more of a spell similar to rest for Singletary, maybe one series every quarter. But Devin Singletary was on fire. There's a reason, obviously, why they kind of burned out Zach Moss's role. Last 6 weeks of 2021, Devin Singletary was the RB3. He was ranked fourth in 15 plus runs, and he was also seventh in forcing missed tackles. Like you said, that jump cut is nasty. His first move is nasty, and he's not a big guy. You referred to Maurice Jones-Drew, same way. He's not as big as him, but he was so elusive and so quick, but also great in pass protection. So that's huge with Josh Allen They run a lot of 4 wide, they run a lot of 5 wide. Josh Allen is still gonna carry the rock, but it's always a threat to have both of those guys on the field because they can both make the first, maybe even second guy miss. So I think riding off that hand of Devin Singletary's final 6 weeks, you can't say no to him. You got to give him the rock. I think honestly, eventually, Zach Moss, I'm a fan too, Dill. Like this guy is a bulldozer. He kind of reminds me of Jerome Bettis. Like he's a big back, but he is quick on his toes. So I think eventually he'll still have opportunities to shine. A lot of the times, especially in cold weather, these running backs will miss games. We've seen Singletary miss games too. We don't know what the history is yet with Cook, if he is or isn't going to miss games. Is he NFL ready, especially in the cold weather? He does have to put on at least that 6 to 8 pounds. You need it when you're running in 0, maybe minus weather in Buffalo. So right off the bat, I think there is to start the year that a pretty big gap as far as maybe a 60-40, 70-30 or more split. But as the year ends, I think you're going to have to save Singletary for that for the postseason, and you're only going to do that if you're going to give Moss and Cook some run.
Awesome stuff, guys. You know what? You kind of mentioned second rounder being pretty high for running back, so it's kind of like he's a first round back, right? Because he's one of the first off the board in general. Maybe there is a future for him. Maybe he is going to be like a Swift, Eckler, not necessarily Cordero Patterson. That's just the hot name right now. That's the guy that just caught fire, and good for him. But we're talking about guys coming into the league as a running back, getting an opportunity, getting to be possibly the future. Cook might be on that list in 2 or 3 years from now. I'm with you that I think there's a sizable gap to at least start the season week 1. But of course, we've seen Buffalo's backfield go topsy-turvy with Singletary to Moss, Singletary to Breida. Singletary's got it back again, and if it's gonna go back in limbo, the next guy in line seems like it's Cook, unless Zach Moss is having an awesome camp or something. But at some point, Cook's gonna get an extended opportunity, more expanded of a role. I think the hope is you get him as a bench back because or at some point, maybe after the first 2 games, if you don't see it, maybe after that, maybe he'll get the receptions to be a back that you can maybe sneak in on a bye and then see how things unfold. I wouldn't expect a Tony Pollard like role yet. I think that's got to be carved out. That's got to be earned, like you guys have been saying. So maybe not a 2021 guy to bank on, unless he's on your bench and you have low expectations and you kind of just stumble upon something mid-season because Buffalo or something like that. So yeah, there's that on the Bills.
Don't forget too. I mean, you have now Ken Dorsey on the sidelines. We remember when Cam Newton was having his run, they had that two-headed monster in Carolina where Ken Dorsey was. Who knows if they're going to pull that out of the hat again too?
That's a good call. That's a good call. I miss the Carolina. Remember D'Angelo Williams and Jonathan
Jonathan
Stewart?
Stewart, yeah.
Start them
Course.
every one of those. You got to start them every week.
You were set, yeah. You were not mad.
It was kind of annoying because when they had that whole backfield to themselves, man, things were awesome. That it was money, but they had a recipe. They kept them fairly healthy by mixing it up like that. But man,